This place has everything. In fact, the grass is damn green in Eugene.
That performance deserves a holy wallawa.
It's a feeling you cannot explain.
This place is louder than any other venue in the Big Ten.
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon.
Welcome to That Show Out West. For That Team Out West, I'm Ted LaRue. We continue our fall camp interview series, and we're talking about the offensive side of the football, and we are taking a deep dive into the offensive side of the football. Can this offense replicate the fireworks that we've seen in years past? And a man that always brings the electricity joins us now, Mr. Rian Winter from SportsChat503. I always look forward to talking and chatting with Ryan here as we continue to break this one down. Ryan, the expectations of the Ducks at the quarterback position are pretty simple. Be a Heisman finalist, make it to New York City. The standard is pretty high as where things are certainly at right now. Kind of been spoiled a little bit, right? Been very, very blessed with Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel, certainly. What's your expectations for something pretty new? Kind of Dante Moore or Austin Novosad kind of going on in a battle right now in fall camp, but new meaning that, like, Dante, we saw him start a little bit at UCLA, and of course Austin Novosad hasn't really played that much as well, but what are kind of your expectations for guys that haven't had a ton of experience like Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel have?
Yeah, it's a different deal, you know. The main thing, if you kind of look big picture, Oregon's always been good at quarterback. So There's never really been a problem there. Oregon has a history of really solid quarterback play going back 20, 30, 40 years. So I think that the Dante Moore situation is very unique. I don't think there's anybody else in the country who quite has a similar story. Being the number one quarterback in his class, everybody wanted him. Pretty much being lockstep and going to Oregon, and then at the last second goes to UCLA. Doesn't really have the success that they maybe thought they were going to have with Chip Kelly and everything else that went down there, and ended up going back to Oregon where he would be comfortable, but at the same time as another transfer, Dylan Gabriel, and does pretty much the unthinkable in today's era, which is be a top flight quarterback and sit for a year. I mean, it's literally in the transfer portal to get two in the same year that you know you're going to have back to back. That's unheard of. And so he's got, I feel like, a lot of confidence going into this year. It's a very unique situation because he got to sit last year. You got to run through all the drills last year. And, in the quarterback room, you're one play away. Every single time you go out there, it's a contact sport. It's a war game, and these guys go down sometimes with some pretty fluke injuries. So you always have to be ready. I think that Novosad, is a really good fit. I think he fits in really well with what Will Stein wants to do. And, half the game for Oregon is just handing the ball off. And then probably half of that other passing game is just the check down. So if you can make a couple of reads and hit it deep when the play comes through and make that play, then you're looked at as a much better quarterback, right? You need to be able to make all the simple plays, as Dana Altman would say, before you make any of the exceptional plays. And I think that with the wide receiver group they have, with the running back group they have, these quarterbacks will be just fine.
And let's talk about those pass catchers. Of course, the unfortunate news during spring that Evan Stewart goes down with a likely season-ending injuries. Now it really opens the door because now there are plenty of opportunities for everybody to step up. I think there's a pretty good idea that DeCorian Moore is going to be that guy as a true freshman right away. But what guys, there's a lot to choose from. What guys do you have your eyes on to potentially step into a bigger role this season alongside DeCorian?
The first guy I thought of was Gary Bryant Jr. I mean, I think that he's got he's right there. I think he's got a lot of seniority. I think he knows what they're doing well, and I think he had flashes last year. Obviously, I think Kyler Casper is really prone to have a breakout year because of his size, strength, speed. He goes to number 3. That's usually a good sign when the guys make a jersey change to one of those premier jersey numbers. And, I think that it's his time. His dad, a legend in the Big Ten. And to be able to kind of get out of that shadow, make his own way, this could be a real breakout year for him. You're right about DeCorian. I think everybody wants to see the freshmen do well, and I think that in the era that we've spent so much time on recruiting these days, a lot of people's favorite players are the freshmen. And so, historically, you're looking at, teams kind of getting to know freshmen their first year. Most fans not even really knowing who most of these guys are. They maybe get in to the rotation, maybe play some special teams, maybe have a big play here or there. But they don't really become a household name, quote unquote, until they get to maybe their junior year. And where now it's a totally different deal. Name, image, likeness, branding, all the other sort of stuff that goes on, agents. These guys are household names, sometimes even in high school, junior year of high school, which, again, I think sometimes can put unneeded, unnecessary pressure on those kids to be, quote unquote, future busts if something doesn't happen where they are looked at as the greatest thing of all time. We've had it in our time with Justin Flo and those kind of guys where it's like, this guy's a can't miss, well, yeah, maybe they do miss sometimes, no offense to them. So injuries happen, weird stuff happens. It's nobody's fault, but I think that a guy like DeCorian Moore, who came in with as much hype as he came in with, then he had that huge game at the Pauley game, the Pauley Bowl, and just kind of just blew up a little bit. After also you saw such a huge year last year with the wide receiver freshman class last year, right? You had great players in the SEC who were freshmen. You obviously had great players in the Big Ten as well. And so you see, Jeremiah doing his thing at Ohio State, and you're like, oh, wow, I don't think we've ever seen quite a freshman like this before. So now we're at the era where a lot of people expect these freshmen to come in on day one and be ready-made players for the college game. And I don't think that necessarily happens all the time. I think you need to be a very unique player to be able to jump to the next level and make that happen. So I'm hopeful that he can. He looked great in the spring game, obviously, had that big banger of a catch down the sideline. And I think his, wheels, he's got it, size, structure, he's got it. He's got that kind of aura a little bit. I don't think it's going to be too big for him. So we'll see, man. I hope that it's not an undue necessary pressure put on these freshmen to try to carry the load. I think there's some juniors and some seniors in this room. Justice Lowe is another guy who had a really good year last year and probably is in position with Evan going out to get just a lot more touches. So it's a team effort, especially in the wide receiver room.
I really like what you said there about Gary Bryant Jr. a couple of years ago, 2023, when Bo Nix was the quarterback. He had something like over 400 yards and I think 4 touchdowns. Of course, he had that play against Arizona State where nobody could bring him down, if you kind of remember that one on the road. So he's a guy that I think could really blend into that slot role that maybe Tez Johnson leaves behind as well. And he's that veteran presence that's kind of been around for a long time that can maybe teach the guys around him and kind of make a lot of the guys around him better as well. And then you kind of mentioned, like I kind of with DeCorian Moore, I kind of viewed it as, I think he has certainly had some expectations coming in with Evan Stewart on the other side, but now it feels like there's pressure. Now it's like, okay, you got to be the guy. You got to be the playmaker. Now, a guy that he's got to be the playmaker alongside is someone that everybody was talking about. Big Ten Media Days, the Team Media Day as well, and that's Kenyon Sadiq, one of maybe my favorite player on this entire team, receiving a ton of praise from his teammates, ton of praise from coaches, ton of praise from the media, NFL draft guys, whatever. What excites you the most about this extremely unique unicorn type of skill set that is Kenyon Sadiq at tight end?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, he's a great guy, great family. Yeah. Shout out to his mom, who's fantastic. I've had plenty of opportunity to hang out with her. His whole family is super solid. He comes from, a real solid background. So, he's got that going for him. He looked the part on Media Day. I loved his look on Media Day. He just is a clean-cut individual. Tight end wise, he's not necessarily the prototype, right? We've had a bunch of guys come through here at 6'5", big, broad shoulder, kind of a smaller offensive lineman type that can go out and get you some yards. We've also had some really unique pass catchers that have been basically a big wide receiver that are almost in that tight end room, right? And then guys like a tweener, like a Spencer Webb, who looked like he almost could be like a Kyler Casper type player if he just thinned out a little bit. Instead, he kind of added some weight to become a tight end. So tight end position is so unique. It's always been probably my favorite offensive position in football just because you can do so many things with it, right? It's so flexible. And it's a dynamic position, whether it's a pull on a run play, they're phenomenal blockers. Whether it's just a little bit of an out route to be able to get you 2 or 3 yards in a crunch situation. The Ducks don't go undefeated last year without that little fourth down play after the shout in the fourth quarter to Terrence Ferguson. And Terrence Ferguson, had to lay down to catch that ball in a very small window. That basically got them where they needed to be to win that game. So tight end position, I feel like, is very, very underrated historically. I think we'll love to look at the running back, quarterback, wide receiver. Tight ends sometimes get underrated, and the Oregon offense has proven they use their tight ends. And historically, there's been a bunch of guys in that room. And this year, it's kind of thinned out a little bit. Not to say that the other guys aren't ready to play, but this is a year where it feels like there's a solid number one guy, pure option. He's the guy. And the thing that I've actually really impressed with Kenyon Sadiq is the guys who talk about him from the defensive side say he's their best run blocker. And I would say the reason why is because he's shorter. At 6'2" compared to 6'5", he can get leverage. And he can get underneath somebody's pads. Some of these guys are big, tall, athletic guys like Patrick Herbert. Hard for him to get down low and get underneath somebody's pads. Even Terrence Ferguson. Big dudes, man. 6'5", 6'6" type guys. It's hard for them to get low versus Kenyon Sadiq, man. He is already there. And then last year, the blowout game, or blow-up game for him, obviously, was that Big Ten championship. Everybody's watching, and here they've got eyes on everybody. They've got everybody keyed, and then who's wide open in the flat, right? And just absolutely. And then he makes the hurdle. He's a nah. He's all over the place. Then he gets the second touchdown, and it really kind of blew up. It felt like the storyline really blew up. So he's a guy who went off, built the courts for kids during the summertime. He's invested in his community. He's a super solid individual. He's a guy you can really trust with the ball. He's probably not the biggest yards after catch guy historically, but I feel like, in that Big Ten championship game, he proved get the ball to him to let him make a play a little bit. And I think that's a unique thing for this tight end group is, are you going to get these guys in space to allow them to be an athlete, or are you giving the ball to a tight end where it's just a turnaround, post up, sit down on the ball, and get yourself a first down, move the chains? And historically, that's kind of been what more the tight end has been. They haven't really been in motion, hitting them in stride, and letting them get yards after the catch. So I think Kenyon Sadiq can kind of change that narrative as well.
Yeah, and the thing is, this year, with all the attention, everybody talking about Sadiq, he's not going to be that guy that's maybe going to be wide open in this flat like he's been. And then I think with more attention certainly dedicated to Sadiq, that's going to allow these receivers maybe with better one-on-one matchups as well. So everything's going to got a cause and an effect. And last thing about the tight end that I kind of have touched on a few times so far, it's crazy because you look at Terrence Ferguson and what he's done, like where he stands historically amongst Oregon tight ends. It's a lot of like top 2, top 3 when you look at career receiving yards, touchdowns, receptions, and then single season as well. Like you're coming off of one of the best tight end careers in Duck history, and now you're just replacing him with this guy that everybody's anointing as a first-round pick already. It kind of just tells you the reload type of culture that's certainly going on in Eugene. Can't wait.
I think that also talks about the development too, because
Right.
Kenyon Sadiq comes in and learns from guys. He runs through the system. Now he's got his chance to be the clear-cut number one guy. And I think there's a lot to be said negatively about this Ducks team. And to be honest, I don't listen to that much of it. Me, I keep it pretty positive, Ted. And for whatever reason, my algorithm does not go into the depths of X or anything else on there. I don't really see a lot of the negativity, but I do hear people talk about how Oregon really can't develop talent. I don't get it. I mean, look at Josh Connerly. Look at coming in as a freshman, Dan's first real big commit. And recruit. And so, I think that's a narrative that is spoken on people that don't really know what's happening. Kenyon Sadiq is a unique guy. I remember when he first came in, I immediately thought, what can you do with a shorter, faster, more athletic tight end? Anything you want is the question.
Yep.
That's the cool thing about it. And I think you talked about the wide receiver room. One other guy that I would really like to see do well this year is Jerion Dickey, who's a big body guy. If you put Jerion Dickey and Kenyon Sadiq right next to each other, they're almost the same size. I mean, these guys are pretty much almost the same body type. So again, it's like, do you have your, Trayshawn Holden type of a guy, or do you have your, big wide receiver type of guy, your smaller wide receiver, and some of these guys can transfer over. I mean, we had a great player, Juwan Johnson, who came over from Penn State during the Herbert era, and he was a big wide receiver for us. And then now he's this tight end for the Saints. I think he's still playing for the Saints.
Sure.
So you can have a variety of kind of skill sets when it comes to the wide receiver room and the tight end room. And it feels like now with the use of the tight end, more quarterback play, the tight end is becoming a more agile player. It's almost kind of like in basketball. You don't need the traditional number one, number two. You can have 2 6-foot guards at the top of the key and just do whatever you want to do with them.
Yeah, it's going to be it's exciting. It's exciting, the versatility. Jamari Johnson is a tight end they brought in via the portal from Louisville as well that I'm really excited about. He's like, because when you talk about the transfers now, you talk about Dylan Thieneman, you talk about Isaiah World, you talk about Mekhi Hughes. I think we all know the names by now. We've been talking about it really since January or February, but no one really talks about Jamari Johnson. And I think there's a lot of excitement, especially now with the Stewart injury. You saw a little bit with Ferguson and Sadiq where they kind of split him in the slot and they split him out wide. You get them, and then you get Johnson at the typical tight end spot. That's maybe a combination that I could probably see working down the road as well.
Will Stein loves a 2 tight end set. They've proven it over and over and over. So yeah, I mean, this is again, if you're in the 2 deep of the wide receivers or the tight ends, you're going to get a lot of snaps.
Sure. Yep. Lots of opportunities this year. No doubt about that. And let's move on to a part of the offense that I think I'm really optimistic about, and that's the run game. Rashad Samples, the running backs coach, of course, said during the spring, I got to call the NCAA to figure out how we can get 2 footballs out there because there are so many guys in this running back room that have just that are talented and that have a wide variety of talent. So I'm really optimistic, of course, with Mekhi Hughes coming in, Jordan James, of course, going out to the 49ers. But the depth here is what really stands out to me. Are you kind of like in my camp where you could see this maybe being one of the best Duck run games of in recent memory? I know you got high expectations with the aforementioned Jordan James and Bucky Irving as of late.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, you don't really know until you know when these transfers come in. But you would assume on paper and what we've seen in person, Kai Hughes looks great. You said 2 footballs. That was David Letterman's joke all the time back in the day. What if we just added another football? What would that do? The running game is, again, we talked about Oregon football being strong with the quarterback room. The running back room has been very strong as well. I mean, of course, the high point is probably will never be eclipsed of having LaMichael James, Kenyon Barner, and DeAnthony Thomas all in the same backfield.
Unbelievable.
That was nice. But, other than that, Oregon has proven it over time that they have had the big running backs like the Royce Freeman, who's been just a bell cow, who they can just run and run and run. And everybody knows what's coming, and they still can't stop it. They've had the scat back guys who are lighter, who can come off the edge and really produce for you. Noah Whittington, I feel like, is a really unique player. He's incredible out of the backfield. He's really good with hands. He's had some great catches over his shoulder, in rhythm, put the foot down, get extra yards. But he also wants to run in the middle. I love his vision. My son, Darby Winter, shameless plug, Darby Winter photo.
Shout out.
Shout out. He works with the team and takes photographs. And he's every single time he has a photograph of Noah Whittington, Noah's eyes are this big and cold, right?
Yeah.
He just can see the vision, and that's always taught. But sometimes in practice, you can get caught a little bit. And I think that Noah's got a great vision, and I don't think there's a lot of pressure on him. I think that having Mekhi Hughes come in, when Noah said he was going to come back after the injury last year, I thought that was great. Why would you not? Take advantage of the opportunity. But I was thinking he's our number one guy. Now you're going to have a young guy come up with him, and being able to have a transfer really helps him, I feel like, take a little of the pressure off and be able to work out of the backfield more, because I feel like that is his strength more than anything. He can run through the tackles. He can do whatever you want him to do as a running back, but I feel like that there's some running backs that are more comfortable than others getting out of the backfield, having the vision of turning, locating the ball, being able to still know where the defenders are, put the foot in the ground, make a move. And, his spin move is incredible. He's really good in open space, and I think the other guys, the young guys, you're going to see on the field as well. That's why I really like those first couple weeks, because historically, you're going to see, especially the first week, usually some of the guys on the depth chart, and it'd be great to see some of these young guys be able to get some minutes as well. But I think the track record is very good at Oregon. Good offensive line, good quarterback, good wide receiver. The running game's going to eat.
Yeah, 17. I think I did some research over the offseason. 17 of the last 20 seasons, the Ducks have had a 1,000-yard rusher, which is insane. I think maybe a couple of those years, there was a guy that was like 960 or 970 or something like that. So there is a fantastic tradition. And I'm glad you shouted out Noah Whittington, because everybody's talking about Mekhi Hughes, as they should. He's certainly put up some big numbers at Tulane. But I just got this feeling that this is going to be a big year for Whittington, maybe his best year. I think he put up over 700 yards a handful of years ago. So I know that's kind of, especially with Hughes in the lineup, that's maybe a high expectation. But I think Noah can get there. And, of course, Dink Riggs as well, that a lot of people are really excited about in this run.
I agree. Go back to what you're talking about those transfers. I mean, how good was Bucky Irving on day one?
I know. Yeah.
And so, as soon as fall camp was started, people were like, whoa, okay. All right, we're good. And then, and so that's the kind of stuff you'd expect to see with Mekhi Hughes. He looks the part. Hopefully everything will work out for him. And again, injuries are always around the corner. And so you got to be prepared. You got to have a deep room. I don't know how deep it is comparatively to other years. But I do know that obviously it's the cream of the crop when it comes to talent. They have their pick.
Yeah, and then like you get down to somebody like a Jaden Lamar, he gets very overlooked, and I kind of remember, and Sample said in that same soundbite where he talked about the two footballs during the spring, he talked about Jaden Lamar, and he's got such great breakaway speed and long speed. Remember last year, I think it was the game against Oregon State where they just kind of flip it out to him in the flat, and he just runs past everybody. So he can maybe be a little bit situational and kind of utilizing that speed into certain situations. And then you look at the spring game. First, I think it was the first drive of the spring game, he busts loose and threw everybody for about a 30-yard touchdown. So, I mean, that's another name. Jay Harris is a little bit of a powerful guy. So you kind of get down. I mean, there's 5 guys that can realistically, I think, get in the run game. Now, I think...
and that's that. Oh, yeah. So, sorry, that's why I say before the transfer, that's who I thought you were going to have. I thought that would be your number 1, 2, and 3 right there would be Noah, Jaden Lamar, and Jay Harris as your big back. And now to be able to have Mekhi Hughes enter this mix, I think it's a bevy of riches at this point.
Absolutely. So I think another big reason why I'm so optimistic about the run game is because this offensive line is freaking huge. Like this is some Big Ten beef up front on the offensive line, man. Now you got one returning starter. That's Pancho Iapani-Lalaolu, certainly in the middle, and I'm really excited about what he can do and just how good that he can be. Because this offensive line got a whole lot better last season. We know about the first 2 games. They got a whole lot better when he really took over that anchor spot at center last season. We know gelling is going to be a big part with all these transfers certainly coming in. Where do you stand in Oregon's ability to, once again, we talk about the standard of the quarterbacks, once again for Oregon's offensive line to be one of the best in the country?
I agree. I think that, they hit the transfer room pretty hard. Alex Harkey, Manuel Pregnon, and Isaiah World. Obviously, people are raving about Isaiah World. Yep. A guy who is very large. But, offensive line is a unique spot. People always look at size and structure. I think that's always important, weight, height. But the ability to be able to redirect a guy who's coming off the edge at such power. I mean, these edge rushers nowadays can bend at such a level with so much speed and so much angle. It's really incredible to see some of these guys at the left tackle or even right tackle position be able to try to kind of hang with these guys on an island. I mean, you're 4, 5, 6 steps away from the next guy who any sort of help. And oftentimes these tackles are completely on their own. So it's going to be interesting to see. I love the tape. The highlight reel looks great with these guys. Immediately with this Isaiah World, I knew as like, oh, this guy's going to be the real deal. He takes advantage. He's got some heavy hands. And, when you talk about the offensive line group has to be very strong up front because they have to depend on the running game. If you can't establish the running game at Oregon, you're in real trouble. I think they can pass their way out of it, and we saw at times they were able to do that. But if you go back to like the Wisconsin game, for example, last year, they got stuck a little bit and their offense slowed way down, and that's kind of the blueprint to how to stop this team. So if you're an offensive line, that first game was very shaky. The second game was very shaky last year with Boise State, almost losing that game. And there were some real question marks in there. They went back to the lab, they got their unit right, and that point out, they had a great year. So hopefully they'll come out running the first week, because Montana State's no joke. I mean, they are a phenomenal team on their level, and they're going to give Oregon a test.
Yeah, those first couple of games, I think I don't want to say easy. Easy is maybe not the right word, but I can't think of something better at this point. It's easy enough where I think the team, whether it's the offense or the whole team, can play like a B game or maybe a C game, still learn some things and to still be able to get away with a victory. But like I said, they can still learn some things and get better by the time September 27th comes around. And of course, so we know that's the big one on the road at Penn State. Ryan, it is always a blast. It is always a blast talking to you here. He is Mr. SportsChat503. He is the OG of the Oregon podcast community. He started his program the year I graduated high school in 2010, Ryan. So he's been doing it. He's been doing it for a while. Come hang out with him like I do most of the time live on Tuesday nights. Ryan, always good to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Ted. Appreciate you. We'll see you soon.